Thanks for watching this video. It focuses on how to handle upfront deposits in QuickBooks Online. Just so you know, there is a deposit field on sales transactions, on the sales receipt as well as the invoice. When you go to sales, in the account and sales settings, under the gear icon, you can turn this deposit field on. However, it goes by default to the checking account, right? And that might be fine, but if you're handling as an other current liability, or even a negative AR, and this method I'm going to be showing is going to be the method I'm going to be focusing on is another current liability. You can always take a credit memo, something like that, if it's some kind of deposit you're turning around quickly. But the other current liability is pretty standard use in desktop, so it's similar theory over here, whether you take it on a deposit form or whether you create an item like I did, hitting an account, another current liability just called customer deposits or upfront deposits. I'll show you the setup in a bit. But I don't particularly like this deposit field. Unless you just want to go straight into checking and you're not handling other current liability, then definitely check it off. Okay, so you just set that up just so you know it's there, right? However, the method I'm going to be showing you is the other current liability. So let's go to the gear icon and first the chart of accounts, or you could go to accounting in your left-hand panel, right? And that's the chart of accounts there, probably the fastest way. Love how chart of accounts and reconcile it together. And I created another current liability account called upfront deposits. And that's all it is. We can edit it just so you can look at it. Just made it be another current liability because there's no detail type for upfront deposits, right? So I'm just making it as general as possible and just naming it upfront deposits. And then I created, if I go to the gear icon, products and services, I created a service item called customer deposits. It's a single-sided item. Let's edit that. It's a service item, or you could have done non-inventory. Don't use inventory for this or bundle. And then I'm linking it to the upfront deposits account. Now, why do I do that? Because I want to have better sales reporting at the detail level, at the transaction level. And the sales forms are actually item-based, right? You could take the upfront deposit by going to the plus sign and bank deposit. Certainly, you can do that. Right? It really doesn't matter. You're depositing it right to checking, and I can add some new deposits up here and just receive from my main customer, and then going to the upfront deposits account, and that would certainly debit checking and credit the other current liability, which is what we want. Okay, so you could do it that way. Other way to do it would be, as you're not creating the final invoice at this time, use a sales receipt. Say they're there or on the phone, something you can send them and say, yeah, I need an upfront deposit. So they slap the card down and give you a $500 deposit. Use a sales receipt. That way you can give them a receipt. And it's not actually impacting AR at this time, nor is there any invoicing here at all. So I'm going to go to this general customer I have. This is where you want to choose the customer deposit item. And we'll say it's $500 I'm taking up front. Now, the bottom part of transactions, that's the credit area, right? So this is going to debit either undeposited funds or checking. I'll leave it for checking, but maybe you're used to doing undeposited funds, so let's do that. That's fine as well. And let's say they just gave you a check or cash or whatever, or credit card, what have you. We'll click save and we'll look at behind the scenes by clicking the more tab and then the transaction journal. So I got undeposited funds, $500, and I got my upfront deposit credited $500. You can keep track of this from the chart of accounts. You can do a quick report on the upfront deposit account. Just go down to your other current liability or do a search for it or whatever. I can always click the drop down arrow and run report. And why this would be helpful is I can rename it for customer deposits or something, because it'll list the name, right? And I can even group by, customer if I want to. And it just shows the deposits. Now, when the sale's done and everything, at the end of the day, when you sell everything, all right, let's show that piece because it's going to be gone, right? We're not going to leave it in here. This is just to track it. So let's say a few weeks, a month or more has gone by and you're doing the final invoice to this customer and you need to, get rid of that deposit they gave you. It's already money in the bank, but I'm going to go to the plus sign and I'm going to do an invoice for them, and I'll to the general customer, and I'm going to sell whatever it is that I sell to them. So we'll say it's a couple appliances and it was like $4,000. And then, because I know from that report I have a deposit for them, I'm going to put the item as a -1. And remember that I had $500. That's why you use another tab, right? So it's going to be a -500, because that is going to, a negative credit, it's going to be a debit, right? So it's going to debit that account, and it should be correct now. So when I click save, or we'll go to the chart of accounts, go back to the chart of accounts. Accounting, And you have your chart of accounts. Go down to the upfront deposit account. Now it's back to 0.